The morning of January 15, 1947, dawned cold and bright in Los Angeles. The city, known for its sunny disposition, was wrapped in an unusual chill, casting a somber tone over the bustling streets. Betty Berzinger, a local housewife, was taking a morning stroll with her young daughter. It was a routine walk, one they had taken many times before, enjoying the quiet of the early hours. They were passing through Leimert Park, a quiet neighborhood known for its peaceful streets and friendly residents. The area was a stark contrast to the bustling city center, offering a serene escape. As they walked, something unusual caught Bersinger's eye in a vacant lot. It was an odd sight, something that didn't belong in the otherwise tidy neighborhood. It appeared to be a discarded mannequin, its pale, naked form bisected at the waist. The sight was eerie, the mannequin's lifeless form stark against the barren lot. As Bersinger drew closer, she realized with horror that it was not a mannequin. The realization hit her like a wave, the shock evident on her face. It was the body of a young woman, brutally murdered and posed in a grotesque tableau. The scene was horrifying, a stark reminder of the darkness that could lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. The body was completely drained of blood, giving the skin an alabaster pallor. This detail added to the macabre nature of the discovery, making the scene even more chilling. Her face was contorted in a silent scream, marred by a Glasgow smile, her mouth slashed into a grotesque grin. This gruesome detail would haunt those who saw it, a permanent scar on the city's memory. The body had been meticulously bisected, the two halves carefully positioned. The precision of the act suggested a calculated and cold-blooded killer. The discovery sent shockwaves through Los Angeles. News of the brutal murder spread quickly, leaving the city in a state of collective shock and fear. The brutality of the murder, coupled with the victim's striking beauty, gripped the city's imagination. She was a young woman with her whole life ahead of her, now reduced to a tragic figure in a horrifying tale. The press, hungry for a sensational story, dubbed the victim the Black Dahlia, a moniker that would forever link her to the gruesome nature of her demise. The name, inspired by her dark hair and the mystery surrounding her death, became synonymous with the case. The Los Angeles Police Department launched a full-scale investigation. Detectives scoured the area for clues, determined to bring the perpetrator to justice. The city held its breath, desperate for answers. The fear and curiosity were palpable, as everyone wondered who could have committed such a heinous act. Who was this young woman, and who could have committed such a horrific act? These questions echoed through the minds of the detectives and the public alike. The Black Dahlia case, as it would become known, was about to become one of America's most infamous unsolved mysteries. The story of the young woman, her life, and her untimely death would captivate and horrify generations to come. The victim was soon identified as 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, a young woman whose life was filled with dreams and aspirations. Originally from Medford, Massachusetts, Short had come to Los Angeles with dreams of Hollywood stardom. She was one of many who flocked to the city, hoping to make it big in the glamorous world of film and entertainment. She possessed a captivating beauty, with her ivory skin, jet black hair, and piercing blue eyes. Her striking appearance made her stand out, and she quickly became known for her looks. Short frequented the nightclubs and bars on the Sunset Strip, seeking her big break in the glamorous world of film. She mingled with aspiring actors, directors, and producers, always hoping that her next encounter would be the one to change her life. She worked as a waitress, her beauty often attracting the attention of men. Despite the attention, she struggled to find steady work in the film industry and often found herself in precarious situations. Short was known to be charming and friendly, but also naive and trusting. Her trusting nature sometimes led her into dangerous circumstances, as she often believed in the promises of those who claimed they could help her. She yearned for love and acceptance, often seeking validation from the wrong people. Her longing for a better life, and a place in the spotlight, made her vulnerable to those who sought to exploit her. Short's life was tragically cut short, her dreams of silver screen fame turning into a nightmare. The promise of Hollywood's bright lights and fame was replaced by a dark and tragic end. The LAPD delved into her past, interviewing friends, acquaintances, and former boyfriends. They sought to piece together the final days of her life, hoping to find clues that would lead them to her killer. They uncovered a complex web of relationships, unfulfilled ambitions, and a darkness that hinted at a troubled life. Her interactions with various individuals painted a picture of a young woman caught in a web of deceit and broken promises. The investigation revealed that Short was last seen alive on January 9, 1947, at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. This was the last known sighting of her before her body was discovered. What happened to her in the days leading up to her gruesome discovery remains a mystery. The unanswered questions and the brutal nature of her death have left a lasting impact, making her story one of Hollywood's most infamous unsolved cases. The Black Dahlia case sent the media into a frenzy. Newspapers across the country plastered Short's story on their front pages, sensationalizing the details of her murder. The public, both horrified and captivated, devoured every detail. The case became a macabre spectacle, fueling rumors and speculation. The LAPD faced immense pressure to solve the case. They interviewed hundreds of potential witnesses and pursued numerous leads, but the investigation quickly became bogged down. The sheer brutality of the crime scene suggested a personal motive, but no one seemed to have a reason to want Elizabeth Short dead. The investigation was further hampered by false confessions. The intense media attention drew out numerous individuals seeking notoriety. They confessed to the crime, eager for their 15 minutes of fame. The LAPD painstakingly investigated each claim only to find them baseless. The real killer, it seemed, was content to remain hidden in the shadows. As weeks turned into months, the LAPD investigated a long list of suspects. The case was becoming more complex with each passing day, and the pressure to find the killer was mounting. They focused on those who had known Elizabeth Short, including former boyfriends, friends, and acquaintances. Each lead seemed to open a new chapter in the investigation, but none brought them closer to the truth. Acquaintances from the nightclub scene were questioned extensively. The nightlife of the 1940s was vibrant and bustling, and Elizabeth was known to frequent these places, making it a focal point for the investigation. The detectives even looked into a married salesman with whom she had a brief affair. His alibi was scrutinized, and every detail of his relationship with Elizabeth was examined. One suspect, Robert Manley, had been the last person to see Short alive. Manley was a musician and a family man, but his connection to Elizabeth made him a person of interest. He had given her a ride on the day of her disappearance, dropping her off at the Biltmore Hotel. This was the last confirmed sighting of Elizabeth Short. Manley claimed he had nothing to do with her murder, insisting that he had left her at the hotel and never saw her again. His story was consistent, but the police had to be thorough. After extensive questioning and investigation, the LAPD eventually cleared him as a suspect. Manley was relieved, but the case was far from over. Another suspect was Mark Hansen, a wealthy nightclub owner who had been infatuated with Short. Hansen's connections and influence made him a significant figure in the investigation. Hansen had a history of violence against women, which raised red flags for the detectives. His past was filled with troubling incidents that could not be ignored. Witnesses claimed to have seen Short at his nightclub in the days leading up to her murder. These sightings placed him under intense scrutiny. However, Hansen denied any involvement, maintaining his innocence throughout the investigation. His denials were firm, but the detectives needed more than just his word. The LAPD lacked the evidence to charge him. Despite their efforts, the pieces of the puzzle just didn't fit together. The Black Dahlia case was turning into a frustrating maze of dead ends. Each lead seemed promising at first, but ultimately led nowhere, leaving the detectives and the public in a state of perpetual uncertainty.